Well, I will admit, fans like me can sometimes complain about how booking seems to be failing them on all fronts, without necessarily knowing all of the aspects of the business that went into making those decisions. However, that does work both ways. It seems that there is a whole list of tried and true booking concepts that have gone right by fans, but somehow escapes bookers today. Well, how many concepts are we talking? I'd say at least 7. And I'd also say that it's the topic of this episode, because today, Dave knows 7 booking concepts that bookers need to do right. Go away heat. A crowd booing a heel can be great for business and great for a crowd that really wants to get out their frustrations. Just look at Gorgeous George. After all, wrestling heels do play a very crucial role in the storytelling of wrestling. However, a guy who genuinely has real heat from a crowd who just want him to go away is not beneficial to anyone. It's bad for the wrestler's career, it's bad for the company, and it's even bad for the fans who just want to be able to enjoy the product. Sure, there are wrestlers like The Miz who were able to draw go away heat, but then eventually were able to turn it around. It's also very difficult to tell if your management, if a wrestler is getting real regular heat or just real regular go away heat. The more out of touch a writer is with the public, the more difficult this distinction can be. 50-50 booking. Without regular jobbers in wrestling and with superstars facing off against each other all the time on a weekly basis, it's really hard to book every superstar on the card strongly. You just can't push everybody. Also, with the WWE Network upping the number of pay-per-views, it seems like there are more and more matches that have to be filled and more feuds that have to be extended. This results in management doing what is called 50-50 booking, having one wrestler gain a win over another in a feud but losing in their next encounter. Now, if this is all part of an epic trilogy, well, that's great. However, if it's just a part of a rushed holdover feud, it just kind of makes things less meaningful. Wrestlers trading wins back and forth can be used as part of an effective storytelling as a means to establish a deep-seated rivalry, just like The Rock and Triple H, but done without any serious effort, and we have something that does nothing to advance either man's career and a waste of everybody's time. And while this might be the goal in some cases, not wanting a wrestler to gain any momentum at the cost of another, it still isn't the best practice, because if fans just grow bored of the whole product, well, then you just realize that you've accomplished nothing. Start and stop booking. Building up momentum is not easy for a wrestler. What's worse is when you give a wrestler his due only to do a complete about face on him almost immediately right after. In the modern era, there are many wrestlers who seem to suffer from false starts. The advantage in the minds of some is that it gives fans a quick fix to shut them up temporarily. But just like the boy who cried wolf, it really does make us doubt you the next time, even if you're doing it for real. So when the next push seems to fail after launch, you might blame the wrestler, but instead, you might want to realize that it's probably your fault and that the fans have simply just stopped trusting you, not wanting to get our hearts broken again after getting our hopes up. The come down match. Even supercards need a break in the action. You can tire a crowd out fairly quickly if you have them cheering from start to finish, especially after long pay-per-views like SummerSlam or even WrestleMania. Not to mention that many in attendance for these events might also have been screaming their heads off at NXT the night before. Being able to manage an audience's energy in order to maximize potential cheers is smart, but should be done in the right way. Enter the come down match. A match that bookers aren't anticipating to draw a ton of crowd reaction gets placed strategically before the last few matches of the night. This way, the crowd can get into the end of the show just a little bit fresher. Now, sadly, matches like these are given as bathroom break matches, but it isn't quite fair to the wrestlers who happen to be in them. Also, not all pay-per-views follow this practice, which makes it all the more insulting to those who do. If the WWE is so concerned with crowd reactions, then they can try other methods like shorter pay-per-views, intermissions, or just building up a card with so much importance that the people just want to cheer no matter what. Spot Fest. Continuing with the idea of how not to overwork a crowd's voice box, there is the idea of Spot Fest. Matches that are turbo loaded with moves that makes the crowd pop over and over again might sound like a good idea, but it does have some mixed reviews. Some think it's great to give fans exactly what they want, while others say that it exhausts the crowd unnecessarily. And there are those that trust the idea that if something like this does happen, then it should at least happen organically as part of the match's story, and not just have it shoehorned into the match as pure mark bait. Hotshotting. Doing things for shock value or quick spikes in business is not a good formula to follow. Sure, there are people who have argued that it works, but that's usually failing to see the long term. After the initial spike spike ends, there tends to be a period of time that lasts just as long, if not longer, than the spike did, but in a negative way. What is often the case, a company usually loses almost as much, if not more money than they gained during the spike. The reason for this is simple. For example, if you promote a match with a bear in it, some people will come out to see a human fight a bear. That sounds pretty cool. However, a lot of these people are not wrestling fans, and they never will be. They just want to see some nutcase fight a bear. And after these matches end, you'll never get another dime from these fans ever again. But if you do decide to have another bear match, sure, they might come back, but there's no guarantee. And even if they do, sooner or later, they'll probably just get bored of watching man versus bear matches. Then after the fair weather fans leave you, good luck trying to get those old fans back after earning a reputation as a company full of bears. Marketing. With the WWE now focusing on the company as more of an international business and less of a wrestling promotion, many things are now being affected that never were before, such as marketing demographics. Continuing on the idea of hotshotting, similar rules apply here as well. Anything you might gain may not cover up for your losses. Take for instance, Jinder Mahal's reign as WWE champion. Some have applauded this as WWE trying to tap into the potentially lucrative Indian market. However, others realize that this is a poor course of action, and the current effectiveness of this plan is less than encouraging. Major companies fail to realize that people don't give money to something just because there is someone of their race that's featured in it. Also, if this was such an effective strategy, then shouldn't this have worked when the Great Khali was champion, thus making the Jinder run completely unnecessary? It didn't work back then, just like it's not working now. And yes, there might be a slight growth in the AIM focus group, but what about all the fans you've turned off by making this decision? Companies need to learn to stop short-sighting people and realize that we demand more than just judging a book by its cover, even if management still does. Well, there you go, that's my list. What did you think? Tell me down in the comments, and don't forget to support me over on Patreon and to check me out on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, this has been Dave Knows.